regards to Damar Hamlin, one day removed from an unprecedented ending to a football game, an ending that none of us expected, uh, to say the least. We're one day removed from it. We're still rendered speechless. And I wanted to hop on here tonight and just continue the dialogue as far as what is next for us, as far as fans to digest news in regards to Damar Hamlin and what we know of his condition thus far. And happy to say that we have some very encouraging news in regards to Damar Hamlin and his health. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. I'm Ryan Thomas. You're tuning into the Thomas Take Sports podcast. This will not be a show about football. This will only be a show about the health and future of Damar Hamlin as he works through the fight for his life right now. I am happy to say that I got an update today, a tweet from a friend of mine, former guest on the show, Matt Perino, and an update that said that Hamlin's breathing is improving. The update was from Matt Perino, tweeted by Matt Perino, and it was a conversation that Matt had with Damar Hamlin's uncle. And the tweet says, I just spoke to Dorian Glenn, Damar Hamlin's uncle, who said that his nephew is on a ventilator to help him breathe. Damar has a little lung damage, but he's now breathing using only 50% of the ventilator. He needed 100% yesterday. That's a good sign. So an encouraging sign for Bills fans to read that tweet, hear that news, that in a matter of one day, this man needs only 50% of a ventilator when yesterday he needed 100% of a ventilator. 24 hours, almost 24 hours after this incident occurred, 8:55 last night, Damar Hamlin, the Bills' safety, collapsed on the field, only for the game to be there then postponed 2 hours later. 10:05, that game is postponed. So also, we heard some news from the NFL today that the NFL announced that the Bills and Bengals will not be played this week. The game will not be replayed this week. And a lot of people are wondering, a lot of Bills fans are wondering, what does this mean for the future? What is it? I mean, I am one of those fans too. I hear you. I get it. I understand it. Why Bills fans have the thought process that they have as far as wondering about the football aspect of this horrible moment in time, that I wonder how the NFL will ever recover from something like this. And I say that in a critical way because of the fact of what I said last night. I am still just as mad now as I was last night that the NFL said 5 minutes to warm up. That this happened. Sean McDermott was on the sideline. On his sideline, Zach Taylor was on his sideline. The NFL says 5 minutes to warm up for each team. They are warming up. Joe Burrow's trying to get his arm warm. And then there was a conversation once again by Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor. To Zach Taylor's credit, the Cincinnati Bengals head coach, to his credit, he has this conversation with Sean McDermott saying that basically we're going to go to the locker rooms and figure out what we're going to do. And I want to reiterate the credit that both Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor deserve for making that call, for intervening and spoiling the thoughtless and careless National Football League that decided we're going to put this team in this position. We're going to put both of these teams in a position to decide for themselves as to whether or not they should play. It's just flat out wrong in every capacity. And I have the same thoughts. I have more thoughts on what I said last night in regards to the National Football League. Because we heard from the National Football League, as I just stated, the NFL announced the Bills and Bengals will not be played this week. Roger Goodell and company, the powers that be within the Shield, within the NFL, it's ironic to me that the logo of the National Football League is a shield because they hide behind one. And they've hid behind a shield for a long time as far as player safety, acknowledging CTE as a direct correlation to football, acknowledging concussions as a direct correlation to football, acknowledging that, or not acknowledging those things, their lack of acknowledgement of those things, and their lack of acknowledgement in regards to an injury like this that obviously brought on by a football moment. A football moment made this injury, made this occur. And I question their ability to not necessarily acknowledge it, because they did. It happened. He was escorted off the field via ambulance. He was given CPR. He was without his own oxygen for 10 minutes. And the NFL then decided, well, 5 minutes to warm up. I'll never get over that. I'll never be able to get past that. As a football fan, it pains me to say that in a moment like that last night, the NFL didn't do. Ultimately, they did what was right. Ultimately, they made a decision. They allowed the teams to make the decision. But to me, I'll always think it should have never come down to the teams. Should have never come down to the fact that the teams had to decide as to whether or not these teams should play. But man, I have never been more proud of this community than I am right now. All of the prayers for this young man, all of the rallying around one another during times of trials and tribulations, whether it's the Buffalo shooting, whether it's the snowstorms 1 and 2, the snowstorm in November, the blizzard, Christmas blizzard of 2022. This city's been through a lot this year, less than a year. Since May of 2022, you can go through the laundry list of things that the Buffalo Bills have been through. And I'll start off by acknowledging that you have a team in which that has gone through X, Y, and Z to start the Buffalo shooting. Dawson Knox loses his brother. Bill starts at end. Dawson Knox loses his brother. Then you have the fact that Matt Ariza finds himself in a disgusting situation that I'm not even going to speculate on that. I was happy that the Bills decided to let him go. I thought it was just one of those situations. You got to wash your hands of a player like that. You don't want a player like that in your organization, in your locker room. You don't want that. He needed to go. Then you have the snowstorms that forced them to play in other cities. Then you have the neck injury to the most beloved player on the team outside of Josh Allen, and I think that is Micah Hyde. And the fact that the Bills have been able to weather that storm of all those things that have been fighting, working against them. This is one that no team has ever faced. Damar Hamlin fighting for his life in Cincinnati, Ohio, right now at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, I believe. So I say this proudly tonight as I hop back on the show and use this show as I have for many years as a form of therapy. If anybody is having a tough time after watching what we watched last night, please feel free to reach out. Please feel free to send me a DM and say, hey, what's up? I want to talk to you about this. I want to get some stuff off my chest. I completely understand. I completely get it. Because I'm right there with you. I am going to have a hard time watching any football game. The first football game I watch will be a tough game for me to watch. No matter what. No matter if it's the Bills playing or any other two teams playing. Especially if it's the Bills playing, of course. There's always emotions involved in that. But due to what we saw last night, it's going to be tough for us to watch football for a long time. it won't be the same for us to watch football as it was before. Keith Casey Atlas, send me your thoughts. Or Alice, sorry about that. Keith Casey Alice says the coaches made the decision not to continue to play. Kudos to them. Fire away your comments as well. I appreciate the comments. I will take those comments and send me your thoughts. I feel like this is a town that has consistently... John says prayers for Damar and his family. I feel like this is a town that has always been one of those towns that supported one another. It's always had this community feel. And seen moments like that where, Jill Kelly's leading this massive prayer group at the Bills store right outside the stadium. Jill Kelly is an amazing woman for a lot of reasons. But she added another reason to those reasons today. Patty Thomas, the wife of Thurman Thomas, she's leading prayer groups. You can't write how beautiful that is. You can't describe how genuine and how heartfelt that is. I hope that in time the condition of this man will improve, Damar Hamlin will improve, and we can use this as a source of inspiration, not just on the football field, but off of it. I know Bills Mafia will use this as a source of inspiration. But can the Bills? It's going to be a very interesting way to navigate through this as a team. I feel like the team is hurting very bad right now, and rightfully so. And I'm not going to comment on any detractors. I'm not going to comment on anyone other than how I'm feeling. I know that there's people out there that are going to make their statements, and their statements are not statements I agree with. I'm not going to speculate on how this incident happened. I'm not going to say it's this over that. I'm no doctor. I'm not nearly as smart enough as those guys and gals. All I know is, for certain, one thing I can attest to is that football is a violent game. And this could happen far more often than it does, and thank the Lord that it does not. And thank the Lord for the fact that these guys put themselves out there for our entertainment and entertain us every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. We love this game. We love this team. But oftentimes we get so lost in our love for this game and our love for this team that we don't stop and smell the roses and realize that these guys, some of them are kids. Some of them are young guys trying to make it in their field. This is their career path. This is the career that they chose. This was the career that they were born into. And the level of work that you have to prove, the level of work that you have to conduct to get to this level is bar none greater than just about any other sport, if not greater than any other sport. Playing football 7 or 8, realizing that football, first thing you realize is football's violent. I'm going to get hit, or I'm going to do the hitting, and doing the hitting or getting hit is going to hurt me. But I want to be a part of a team. That's why every single kid gets their parent to sign for Pop Warner. You want to play a game that allows you to be a part of a team. Just like this team right here, 1990 Buffalo Bills, right over here, right there. This team right there. First Super Bowl team for the Buffalo Bills, the 1990 Buffalo Bills. So that's what you play for ultimately. But 1% of the 1% of the 1%, I say it like that all the time, get there. And they get there by working their butts off. And that's putting it mildly. you have to be talented enough at your peak level of physical fitness in order to be at that level of getting better as a young athlete, a youth athlete, Pop Warner athlete, modified, middle school, high school. You hope that at that high school level, you get the attention of a college coach that is willing to drive out to watch you play to see what he to see if the real thing is the real thing with his own eyes. And if he sees that the real thing's the real thing with his own eyes, then you're getting a scholarship that's going to allow you the opportunity to play and represent your school while achieving a education, high level education, bachelor's degree, master's degree, depending on what you're looking to get into. Or if you're planning to play and you graduate and then you declare for the NFL draft. And you're one of the 1,590 players that make the 53-man roster in the National Football League. You take 53 and multiply it by 30, it's 1,590. You're one of those guys. You're one of those guys. And you're out there playing on Sunday, playing on Monday, playing on Thursday in front of thousands upon thousands of people, playing in front of millions and millions of people watching at home. And if you're playing for a team like the Buffalo Bills, you're playing for the only team that matters. And yes, I'm not throwing shade at the Sabres. Sabres matter too, but I'm talking in terms of the only thing that matters to Buffalonians is sports. That's the one thing that we all have. That's the one thing that we've always had is the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres. That's why we are such diehard fans. And when moments like these happen, we're reminded of how special this is for us to achieve, or to, not to achieve, but to accumulate these moments. Good, bad, ugly, horrifying as last night was, we're reminded that those moments are what show our true character. How we react in those moments is what shows our true character. And to those that reacted in a negative way, and that's what it was, in a negative way, to the Damar Hamlin news in terms of trying to speculate, trying to play PhD, Doogie Howser doctor. I don't understand that. I don't want to be that. That's not what I'm going to be ever. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to say, oh, well, here, it looked like this happened here with this injury and this. It's not what I do. It's just, I have no interest in doing that. The only thing I have interest in is telling people how I feel about the Bills, winning, losing, how they can win, how they can lose, as well as how they can inspire the community. And this is a moment that checks off the inspire the community box as far as they can rally around this team. They, meaning you, the Bills Mafia, me, the Bills Mafia, members of this fan base, and actually show that we care about this team more than just their ability to play football. We care about this team as far as how these guys serve the community. We care about this team as far as how these guys appreciate being a part of this franchise, being added to the history, which is great, the history of this franchise. We've had some phenomenal players, some of the best players of all time at their positions, playing in this city, playing with this team. A couple of them are behind me. So with that, I just didn't expect to be on here for 20 minutes, but there's times where I hop on here and I never expect to be on here as long as I am, or as short as I am sometimes, in terms of what I bring to the table with this show. But the only thing I can say is consistently, we have to use this for the right reasons. We have to move forward for the right reasons and not the wrong ones. We can't be divisive within one another and try to be doctors and try to say, well, this is why this happened, and I think this happened because of this, and I think this happened because of that. We don't know anything. All we know is what we're told. What we're told is positive news as of recently. As I said, Matt Perino tweeted, good buddy of mine, we go back a long time, Hamlin's breathing is improving. He was at 100% full usage of a ventilator. Now he is at 50%. He's regained 50% of his breathing capacity, breathing 50% on his own after 1 day. Less than 1 day. Actually, 24 hours to the minute. As at this point right here, right now. As a young man, he's 24. He's in peak physical condition, playing in the National Football League. And doctors that I do know and that I have talked to within the last 24 hours have told me that due to those things, of him being 24 years old and being in peak level condition, that he does have a good chance, a 60 to 65% chance of making a full recovery. The reason that that number is in the 60s and not in the 70s is in regards to the fact that he was, what we do know, and I'm working off of what we do know, is that he was without oxygen for 10 minutes. And you're fighting against those 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes were fragile moments in time. And that's why every player on that sideline was looking the way they were looking, showing the emotion that they were showing, because every minute that they were out on that field with their brother, there was there was more of a chance of a very bad prognosis. And that's just common sense. I'm not trying to be a jerk here and saying that. I'm just saying that because that's what those guys were thinking. Man, we got to get this guy off the field. He's not getting up. He's getting CPR. Anytime you have CPR involved in any moment of anything, you know that it's not good. And I don't want to beat this, I want to be respectful to Damar Hamlin and his family, and I'm not looking to get clicks or reactions or, go viral or anything like that. That's not really what I care about ever. To be honest with you, I could care less about that. I want people to tune in, but I want people to tune in for the right reasons. I want people to feel like they can come to me after watching a football game, knowing that I'm watching it too. We can talk about it. And we can say, hey, how are you feeling after watching that game? How are you feeling, Ryan? To be honest with you, I don't feel too good right now. I look at football much differently tonight than I ever have before, if we're being quite honest. I look at the NFL a lot differently than I ever have before. I look at the NFL a lot more negatively tonight than I ever did before. I look at Roger Goodell a lot more negatively than I ever did before. You get my point. I'm sorry. This was an accident. This was a horrible accident. There is no one at fault for the accident. T. Higgins, despite being as distraught as he's been over the course of the last 24 hours, this was not his fault. This was not Roger Goodell's fault. But in moments like these that are unprecedented, in the words of Troy Aikman, who saw plenty of injuries, teammates, as well as his own body accumulate injuries over the course of his career, he used those words, unprecedented. This is an unprecedented situation. And in this unprecedented situation, I felt like the NFL dropped the ball and got people down, me included. And I'm angry about it. I'm angry about it. Internally, I'm angry. Internally, I'm upset. And I feel a great sense of frustration over the NFL as we know it today and how it's being led and who it's being led by. And I feel like they could do much, much better. There's moments where they can prove that they really care about the players. And in moments like that, where they can prove that they really care about the players, they prove that they don't. And that to me is very upsetting. Keith says, hi, Ryan. Do you feel the game should resume? And if so, when? I don't think it's my call, Keith. I don't, I understand where you're coming from. I would like to see the game resume at some point. But obviously, they don't feel that it should resume right now. They're not resuming it this week. I don't know what's going to happen. I've seen so many suggestions from people that watch my show and listen to my show and tweet at me at Ryan Thomas Take on Twitter and say, hey, I think, Ryan, that the Pro Bowl should be canceled. The Pro Bowl games, as we know it today, should be canceled, and they should push the Super Bowl for another week to February 19th, not the 12th. And it would allow each team another week to not only rest, but for the Bills to catch back up to every other team on their schedule. Maybe that's the only possibility that really makes sense to me. And people can throw possibilities at me all they want as far as what they think should happen, and I'm more than willing to understand that and read those. But a tie is not sensible. The Bills forfeiting the game, that's not fair. That's not right. The Bengals winning the game is not fair. That's not right. And the Bills losing the game is not fair, and it's not right. But I don't really care about this game. I really don't. I care more about how the NFL actually tries to make this a source of inspiration towards resolutions, towards protecting players, changing protocol. God forbid, heaven forbid, anything like this ever happen again. They respond to it in a timely manner and respond to it the right way. And they don't force the teams to choose whether or not they should play. That is my talking point. That is my point. Damn the costs that the NFL has to pay, or whatever it may be, to change the schedule around. The advertising companies, what are they going to do with the Super Bowl commercials if they're delayed another week? Will they have to pay more? Will they have to lose money? Don't care. Don't care. Because no team should feel the aftermath of something like this. No team. I wouldn't wish this on the team I hate the most, the Miami Dolphins. I wouldn't wish this on any team. I don't want to see these guys get hurt. I want to see all these guys stay healthy. That's not the world we live in. That's not the game we're watching. That's not the game they play. But I want to see these guys stay healthy. I don't want to see these guys get hurt. I don't want to see any team hurt by a player getting hurt. Not only hurt, but fighting for their life. But fighting for their life. I hope that the league puts their ego and their pride aside and finds a resolution that doesn't hurt the Bills, that doesn't hurt the Bengals, that doesn't hurt the NFL. Because this is not anything that any team has ever experienced, ever, in the history of the National Football League. It's unfathomable what the Bills are going through. And I think there's only one team that could do it. There's only one team that could be led by someone like Sean McDermott and still be successful despite what they're going through, and that's the Buffalo Bills. And that's the story. The fact that the adversity has been so long and lengthy in terms of May 14th, 2022 to January 3rd, 2023 and present day, you could say. The adversity just keeps piling on and piling on and piling on and piling on, and yet the 12-3, first in the AFC, clinched the AFC's division for the third year in a row. I know Josh Allen said he's sick and tired of wearing the hats. He's sick and tired of a hat. He wants the Lombardi Trophy. I respect it. That was then, though. This is now. We're living in a different world than what we're living in 48 hours ago. We're living in a different world than what we're living in 48 years ago. Thank God for that. In most ways. Right? No, in the majority of ways, I should say. The only thing that I think we're hurting on right now is just wondering what's going on with Damar Hamlin. And to hear the news that we heard today from Matt Perino that Damar Hamlin's uncle told Perino that 50% lung capacity, 50% less use of a ventilator. So he's breathing 50% on his own, 50% on a ventilator. Hopefully that number, the percentage in which he's able to breathe on his own goes up to 100. No ventilator needed. This man can recover and be a source of inspiration, as he already has been over the course of his career, his short career. And I don't know if Damar Hamlin's ever going to play football again. I just want to know that Damar Hamlin is going to walk on his own 2 feet with a smile on his face, waving the Bills Mafia and being remembered as a hero. Prayers to Damar Hamlin. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. You take care.